civil engineers, surveyors, environmental science folks. And we do a lot of permitting through the regulatory process, and even oversee stuff right through construction if that's what's needed. Our projects go from anything from a single family camp on a pond that might need an outhouse, and we've designed and built Hannaford stores and the Oxford Casino, just as examples of the upper end of things. Is that a surprise?
That's awesome.
We got a casino fan right now. So that's what we're about. We don't actually build anything with designers. We're consultants. So, and Ashley understands that. We're like as an architect. She's probably not out there swinging hammers. She'd hire Tate to do that.
Yes.
And similar with us, we would hire site contractors, or the client would hire the site contractor. So just a little background on what we do, and the company's been around since 1974. So it's not new, it's been around a long time. And I need to give you a little bit of background from me so you understand. Is everything okay?
It's just the sign, I think.
There are whales mating out
That's what it is.
Is that a sales pitch for the chamber?
For Longfellows! For Longfellows!
Join the chamber, you get to see whales mating.
It's really weird.
It is, it's quite nice.
Gotta have fun in the snow.
It's an 1800s place, guys. I mean, it's old. It's, everything here is old.
Tammy, this is a wonderful space.
It
Thank
is
you for having us here.
wonderful.
Really appreciate it. My history. I grew up not far from here in Emden. If anyone knows where Emden is, most of you do because you're local. That's where I grew up, and I know Tate and Becca from our church that we used to go to, and I remember them when they were a lot smaller. So I moved around the state, Auburn, Milford, which is out by Old Town, and recently Jay is where I live now, so not too far from here. And in 2011, I had the opportunity to buy Mainland from the previous owner. It was during a recession, which is good and bad. Good that I got an okay deal, bad because it was a recession and making payments was tough, right? I didn't have some big bank account to write a check, so of course I went into debt to the owner. He got me the note. That's how a lot of times that works. So that's important for you to understand, because when I bought it, we were only 10 people, and that payment every month was like when you're young and you take out your first mortgage, and every month that bill comes in and you're like, oh, you take it, it's like a sucker punch every time. Well, it's the same thing when you buy a business. Those first couple of years, those are really hard payments to make. And I could wait for inflation so that I could make those payments easier, or I could grow my company. Growing my company was a necessity for safety reasons. I just wanted to be able to make those payments. I didn't want our company to struggle and fail, and the previous owner wasn't going to allow that either. If I couldn't pull it off, he was going to come back in, and he had every right to do so. So this was a risk attenuation. Like, I needed to grow the company just so that I could make the payments easier. So we started to try to grow. And being a nerd, I am a nerd, big time. I looked at what are the key drivers to growth of a business like mine, or what are the key limiters. And I just wanted to share the limiters with you. And I came up with 5. First, the state of the economy. Can't do much about that myself, but the state of the economy is certainly a key limiter to my growth. The government can be a limiter through regulations, taxes. The more taxes, the less I can grow, and those sorts of things. Marketing and brand awareness. Going after that now, I'm not great at it. Getting better all the time. Leadership, I was my own limiter, and that is like the biggest hurdle for a lot of people. I was my own limiter, and I'm not going to go into that today either. And then lastly, attracting qualified professionals. Business was in Livermore Falls, Maine. Especially 10 years ago. It's a little better now, but 10 years ago, you guys have all driven through Livermore Falls. We were trying to hire professionals, and they were coming up from Massachusetts, from New York, from southern Maine, and we had one guy that we went through the entire interview process. He was great. He liked us, we liked him. We're going to do this. But our company policy is that we have a spouse interview. And that sounds worse than it is. Really, it's just we want your spouse to come up, join you, and we're going to have dinner with you. And that's it. That's really easy. Well, he come up across the bridge in the Livermore Falls. His wife took one look around and said, "Take me home. We're not living here." And it was tough to attract professionals to Livermore Falls. It was really, really hard to do that. So we had to learn. We had to fix that problem. How do I attract people to come here? Now, I needed some senior people. In that case, that was a senior person. But I also needed a lot of entry-level people, millennials. And even though I have them at home, I have 3 sons, I didn't understand the way they think at all. So we put our thinking caps on, because that's what we do as nerds. And we came up with, and did a bunch of research and figured things out. What are millennials looking for in a job? What are they after? What is it that they want? And I'm going to list you. There's 5 of them. And this is the crux of what I wanted to talk to you about, is these 5 things that millennials want. And here they are. Ready? They want a passion for mission and achievement. They want a purpose. They want to know what it is they're contributing to. So they want a mission. 2, they want a fun and friendly work environment. They want to enjoy going to work and enjoy the people they're working with. 3, they want a work-life balance. They don't want to work 80 hours a week. They just don't want it. And I talked to a bunch of you before I talked, and I heard the same thing from all of you. Their balance is the wrong way, right? But at the very least, they do want to balance that. 4, they want to know their job is going somewhere. If they think they're in a dead-end job for a heartbeat, they're gone. So they don't want a job that's a dead-end job. And finally, 5, the money. They want the money. Don't we all? Tricia?
Are those in order of priority for them?
Thank you for stealing my thunder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it just shows how smart you are.
I'm so interested though.
Yeah, that's what's the trick here. Because when I went to school and got out of school and started my career, money was number 1. How much can I get on my entry-level job? And if somebody offered me more money, I was gone. Maybe job development, maybe that chance to progress in my career in that was like maybe number 2. The rest of them, I never gave it any thought. And most of the people standing in this room, they never really gave it a whole lot of thought either. Anybody from my generation. We just didn't think about that. That was, maybe somebody would mention how great it is at their company and be like, yeah, okay, yeah, you probably don't make as much. That's kind of the way we thought. That is an order of importance to millennials. First, mission. 2nd, work environment. Some studies say it's the other way around, so those are close. Work-life balance, job development, money. Order of priority to millennials. And I'm here to tell you, they're right. It took me 30 years to figure that out. They're coming out of the gate that way. That's what they think is the order of priority. I think they're right. Just never thought that way before. Once we figured that out, then we could say, okay, we've got to figure out how do we make our company look like that? Because it never did before. It was like we just had good paying jobs for Livermore Falls. That was the attractor. And it wasn't enough for millennials. Here's how we would go. If we got somebody at entry level to start there, it was because they were from that area. That's how it worked. We didn't import anybody. We didn't bring in people from other towns. They had to be within that half-hour drive of Livermore Falls. Otherwise, we just didn't get them. Today, the last 3 out of 6 hires we did were all from either out of state or boomerangs. They were living out of state and would come back. So half of our hires are coming from out of state, and half of them, the other half, weren't local. They were at least an hour or more away and moved to come here. So that's pretty. We were like, yeah, okay, we got this. We figured this out. I'm gonna focus. I gotta turn this because my arms are getting short. But I'm gonna focus on the mission and work environment. Those are the new ones. Those are the ones that they're focusing on. And if I have time, I'll get to some of the others. I do want to stress, this is what worked for us. I wanted to tell you what we do in our background to make you understand that these are usually college graduates. They're usually professionals. I'm not looking to hire, what was the example, Tammy, you gave, a cook? I don't have that kind of employment. We do a little bit. We have some survey field technicians, and we train them, but that's a pretty small, as a percentage of our staff makeup, it's a pretty small number. So, but this stuff works for us. I don't expect this list of stuff I'm going to talk to you about to work for all of you, or even any of you, but you might take a nugget or 2 away and go, oh, I should think about doing something. Or maybe what I say, it's not even on this list, but it gave you the idea that maybe you want to change your company in a certain way. So here we go. Ready? Mission. First, we needed to show that we had a mission. And we're like, we're engineers. Like, how do we make that fun? Like, how do we make that dramatic? How do we show people that's important? And now, we think we have it pretty much down. I start on day one. The first day they get hired, we have an initiation day, and they all spend an hour with me so I can pontificate. I get the same look I get from my teenagers, and from these two when they were younger, they're like, oh, you sound like my dad. I'm like, yeah, your dad's right. And the talk I give it about China. I say, hey, you know, who's the biggest economy in the world? Well, we are. America is. Who's the second biggest? China is. Yeah. Why are they all here buying up our property? And here's the deal. In China, you can't own land. You rent the land. You might buy the rights to use the land, but the government or cooperatives own all the land. So to them, the idea of owning a home and a property is like, that's mind-blowing. In America, it's part of our American dream. We can own the land. Ghastly important. People are crazy about their land. It's the American dream. In that short little blip, maybe I convinced you that land consulting is important and is critical to people. And then I spent an hour doing that. I give them all sorts of examples. So I start right off the gate to show them why it's important. We talk about it every Monday morning meeting. We have this mantra. It's almost cultish. I say, what do? And they all go, we help people. 20 people all yelling it together. And I say, with what? To add value to their land. And they all respond it back. And I was like, this is cultish. I gotta stop doing this. And when I stopped, they got mad. No, we gotta do that. Because they know it helps focus them on what the purpose, what the mission is. So that's important. When we review a project completed on many different metrics. Profitability and schedule and quality and all the things that everybody here thinks about. But we also say, how was it to our mission? Did we meet the purpose here? And so that's something we talk about. Because of that mission, today we're not growing our company because I want to make the payments easier. That's not the deal. Today the deal is we want to make our company bigger because there's a lot of land out there, and we approach it from a different perspective than most of our competition, and landowners deserve that. They deserve to have our outlook on that. Mission. Everybody at the company buys into that. I talk about it until they can't help but buy into it. Now they have their purpose. This has a line item budget in my annual budget of 0. And yet, great rewards. Any questions on that before I move on to work environment? Because this is what we're famous for. Okay, work environment. Everybody wants to work at Mainland now. That was not the case 10 years ago. Most people didn't know who we were, and those that did, there was never any concept of wanting to work there. When it comes to work environment, rule number 1, hiring and firing. You can't have a good work environment without having the right people on board. So we have a really long, intensive interview process, 16 steps. You want to come to Mainland, you got to go through all 16 steps.
Wow.
Multiple interviews, multiple trips. We get to know you. Personality tests, background checks, of course, all those kinds of things. That we don't mess around because we hired crazy. And we don't want crazy in the door anymore. We just don't let them in. And then if we figure it out in that first 6 months that they're crazy, we say goodbye. You need to go. Because we've held on to people too long, and it damaged us. It damaged our company culture and our work environment. So we don't let that happen anymore. Hiring, firing, the first thing. We hire and fire based on, will you be the right fit? Is your attitude correct? You'd think as an engineering company, we would, like if I'm hiring an engineer, it's all about what they know. I don't really care what they know. They made it through college, an engineering degree, they'll be fine. What I hire for is, is your attitude a match for our company? Now our company stresses friendliness. Maybe your company stresses quality. Maybe your company stresses speed or price. Whatever it is, hire based on that to affect your work environment. Then here's just a bunch of ideas that we use to help our work environment. Daily gatherings. We get together every day. Not to work, just to be together. Every Monday morning, we have a 20-minute staff meeting. Every day, each department gets together. They have at least a 5-minute stand-up. We have coffee breaks together. We do other things, like at lunch, they'll go skiing over at the mountain, or they had a scavenger hunt not long ago. But they're always doing things together. Builds team unity. They can't help it. Social events, all sorts of them. You've probably heard and seen online our parties that we throw. They do lunchtime stuff I talked about. I'm trying to come up with an example off the cuff. We're all going to go to adult ed and have free lunch through their adult ed program soon. Do that together as a company. I'm not going to go over there alone. I'm not just going to take my leaders. No, the whole company. Boom, off we're going to go. So there's all sorts of social events. Those are worthwhile. To motivate, build morale, and affect our culture, I share profits. That didn't scare you, you're not listening. But I actually do share profits. We figure out our profit every month, and a percentage of that goes back to staff. We put it in an account, they get a report, they know exactly how much is in that account, how much profit is theirs. And then I used to cut checks routinely. Engineers didn't like that, so at the end of the year, that's when we cut the check. They just want to see what they've got. I don't know why. I'd rather have my money now than later, but that was the most common request on that. So we share profit. We do profit sharing. We have annual goals on billability and spend differential and things that affect us. Your annual goals might be completely different. It might be feet of pipe laid, right? Or it might be website hits, or it might be new members. Whatever your metric is, not only do we set them, but we track them visually up front where our employees can see it. It's got to be visual, and it's got to be in their face. Millennials don't want to go look for information. If they do, they're going to Google, and probably what they'll find is your competitor's webpage, right? In your face, visually in your office, updated routinely. The results of that were astounding for team unity, for shared purpose. That's what they're going after. And of course, if they met the goals, there was a reward tied to it. They loved that. That's what and it wasn't much of a reward. They didn't care. They just wanted the trophy. So it was pretty cool. That worked. Recognition. Recognition is also gratitude. We have what we call the ADA Award. Every Monday morning, we give an ADA Award, ADA girl, ADA boy, to somebody in the company. I can pick that person. The other leaders can pick the person. I have 4 departments, 4 leaders. They can pick somebody. More often than not, they're telling me or one of the other leaders, somebody else that did it. So they're nominating themselves, each other, for that award, not themselves, each other. When they win it, they spin the wheel of destiny. It sounds as corny as it is, as it sounds. It really is. It's literally just a wheel, like a wheel of fortune with the pie shapes, and they can win things. They spin the wheel. Whoever won the ADA Award, they don't get a trophy, they just spin the wheel. There's some cash prizes, like $10. There's a $100 spot that can be painful for me sometimes, especially if there's more than one person that wins. There's things like parking the boss's spot this week, my least favorite one. There's one, I'd rather pay the cash. I want my spot. There's ones like the boss takes you out to lunch. There's one that says take any other mainlander you want out to lunch on the company's dime. There's just little things. Movie tickets to the narrow gauge. Just little things. Doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I was like, after about a year of that, I was like, do you guys want to do something different? And I almost had a revolt on my hands. They want the Wheel of Destiny. Like, don't take the Wheel of Destiny. And if you come to our office in the conference room, there's the Wheel of Destiny standing in the corner. That doesn't cost me much. The morale and team unity that builds, when you have morale and team unity, you have production. You have goals that get met. You have clients that are happy. See where I'm going with all that? And the last thing, and this is probably the most important one, is appreciation. I learned to say thank you a lot. That is not in my nature. These guys know. I bark at them when they're young. That's not in my nature to say thank you to people. I learned to say it all the time and mean it. $0 line item in the budget. Didn't cost me anything. Post-it notes. Every month or two, I will run around the office after everyone left, and I'll just write a note like, hey, you're doing this, or you're doing great at that, or way to go on that project, and I'll just put one on each person's cubicle around the office. $0 item. Line
Sounds
item
like
in the
good
budget.
advice for marriage, too.
Hey, don't give my wife any ideas. They come in the morning and they see that note, that didn't cost me anything. And it means so much. That's appreciation. And the last one I want to talk about, there's a little story. How am I doing on time?
Good.
Doing all right?
One more story.
One more story. About every month or two, when I see someone that's just really rocking it, I have a little thing of thank you notes in my desk drawer. And I'll pull one out, and I'll write a note to their parents or their spouse. And I'll give it to admin and just say, here, send this, figure out who their parents are, or what their address, I might know their names. Just figure out their home address and send this off, would you? That parent will not keep that to themselves, right? Next time their son and daughter comes home for Thanksgiving or whatever, you know the parent's like, you wouldn't believe what I got from your boss. They didn't even wait for that. They were on the phone like that night, right? What do you think the staff feels when I do that? Oh, it's huge. I want to tell you how huge it was. I'm gonna try not to cry. So if I do, just bear with me. I have a staff guy. You'd recognize him because he looks just like me, big and gaunt. His mother was sick with cancer, and she didn't make it. And it was a long thing. It took over a year and a half or so. And eventually she went down to Auburn to the Anscogan home care down there. And there she passed away within a day or two of being admitted down there. When they were clearing out the room, they found her clothes that she was admitted with. And she didn't have anything in the pockets of her clothes except for her shirt pocket. She had one thing, and it was that note that I had written. That's how much it meant to her. How much did that mean to him? I could kick him in the fanny every day for the rest of his career. He's not going anywhere. He is not leaving. He loves our company and is totally loyal to us. For a note that didn't cost me anything. All I had to do is learn how important it was and actually start doing it to remind myself. Because I'm like anyone else. Self-absorbed and not thinking about them. I'm thinking about my own issues and my own deadlines and the article I have to write and the goals I have to meet and my clients that are, there's one or two that's always angry at something because people are crazy. And they're going to call me and I got to deal with them. You all know what I mean. That's what I'm thinking about. I am not thinking about writing that note or that post-it. So I have to put things on my do list. And they come up, they pop up. Like, it's been 3 months since you did that. Oh yeah. And when I think about it, then I'm like, yeah, of course I want to do that. Who wouldn't want to do that? But I have to remind myself. Appreciation. So I just described the mission part and the work environment part. Those are the two things millennials care the most about. They care about all the others too. Those are the two things, and I got other stories about other things, but I'm out of time. Those are the two most important things, and if you can nail those, millennials will want to stay. They'll want to come to work for you, and they'll want to stay. If I can do it with nerds in Livermore Falls, you can do it here in your business. I'm confident of it. Millennials have bad parts too, and if you're here and you're a millennial, behave yourself. The trick with millennials is they want all of those. They want all of them, and they want them on their first day. So you do have to convince them that that's something you work towards, because their parents probably didn't tell them that. That's why millennials are the way they are. They have to learn that, and it might be your job to tell them that and show them that. Well, like, look, you've got two most important things that are on your list are here already. The money's gonna have to take a while. You're not gonna make $100 grand on your first day. Sorry, it just doesn't happen. Not in anyway. All right, that's it. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to talk, and maybe you can answer them among yourselves because you're all smarter than
There's a
me.
lot of millennials here.
Does anyone have questions?
He's got his arms crossed and is bouncing his feet. I'm scared to death of him now.
Yeah, we can do an open Q&A if you want.
Awesome.
That's totally fine.
Let her fly.
I have a question.
Fire away.
You've mentioned your Facebook content a lot. Do you think that, what do you put on Facebook, or what do your people put on Facebook, and do you think that that's actually helping to attract new employees?
Millennials don't look at Facebook very much. They have other things, and especially the young ones at entry level. They're looking at, I don't even know, Snapchat, and there's a bunch of others that I don't even understand. But when they want a job, now they're looking at Facebook, they're looking at LinkedIn, and almost everyone is finding us through the social media, which is why we hit it so hard. And most of it, there's some that has to do with work-related stuff, like, hey, look at us, we did an awesome project, and hey, this client won, and we helped them do it. But a lot of it is, hey, look at our mission, and look at our work environment. That's what we're advertising, because that's what entry-level folks are looking for.
Okay.
And we have to make it real, of course,
Yeah.
not just advertising.
All right. Thank you.
I think other employers are also reading your Facebook posts and going, wow, maybe that's the ticket.
There's some cost with those. That's the primary reason I think that most business owners don't want to do this, because they think it's expensive. It's not. It's not. For me, payroll is what's expensive. So those things, I mean, it's $1,000 or $2,000 a year, and that's scaled. So if you're a single man shop and you're like, I can't afford that. Well, for you, it might be only a couple $100 a year. A couple $100 a year to not have to retrain people because they leave. Yeah, do that deal every time.
That's true. That's a good point.
We talked about a lot of free stuff, which is obviously really great, and some stuff that costs money. Do you feel like you've made your profit back on the stuff that costs money?
Every time. It's different for everybody. I read something on an article just the other day that said the average cost to hire a new person for a business in America is around $4,500. For us, hiring professionals, engineers and surveyors and the like, it's closer to $20,000. I'm making a $20,000 investment to hire someone new. And if someone leaves because they don't think they have a future or they don't like the work environment, that's really expensive. I don't even think I have more than a couple, $3,000 into the stuff that I said that costs money. Excepting our Christmas party, that gets expensive. We have a lot of fun. Excepting that, I don't think I spend more than $3,000 or $4,000 a year on that stuff. Like the Wheel of Destiny, there's like most of them are like $10 to $20. Not ghastly expensive. $10 or $20, 52 times a year. You can do the math. That's not company ending. Not when it costs $20,000 to hire somebody. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So affect the bottom line. It affects the bottom line.
And the second,
go up.
the profit sharing model.
Yeah.
Have you been able to, you're tracking your metrics? Can you see that the profit sharing is having a positive impact?
That is a good question. Some of them are very much motivated because the profit sharing is tied to meeting goals. It's tied to the things that make us money. And for some people, they feel like that's part of ownership. They've got a little piece of it and they can affect what they do. Our younger entry-level people, not as much, because they're being told what to do and they can't really feel like they can affect those numbers. So it's a little less. If I took it away, they'd all leave. So there's that. I'll know more in another year. We've only been doing actual profit sharing for a couple of years, and it's having some effect. The amount of money, though, if before it was year-end bonus, which comes from the benevolent boss, and comes from bonus land. Like, where does that come from? They don't know. Profit sharing comes from meet these metrics. This is how much you get. And of course, the metrics are tied to our own, revenue and expenses and all of that. So, if they help me make money, I'm gonna share it. The other part of profit sharing is I have key people. If you have a company more than just you have key people as well. Like, there's nobody we can't do without. There's nobody that if someone left, anybody at the company could leave, and I could find, we'll survive, right? But there's key people that it's like, oh, that would be so painful, right? I want to make sure that they're tied and invested in through the profit sharing so much so that they know that overall they'd take a pay cut to go somewhere else. And if they're bringing it in, then that's not really affecting me. They're like basically getting the part that they're winning at. That's cool. And if they make if it's tied and they bring in $300,000 worth of work, I'm okay with that. And they get a big chunk of that. That's okay because I'm making the rest. And it's a model that can work. It works best for the motivated folks, and not everybody's motivated.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Where do you find is the best place to advertise for employees for your business?
For us, it's social media, Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't bother with any of the others. What we find is that the young entry-level staff, they're not using Facebook or LinkedIn, but that's where they're going to look for jobs. A lot of it is their parents. So they're like, I need a job, I don't know where to go. And their parents are like, oh, I see this place on Facebook all the time, Mainland, you need to go advertise there. And we're getting further and further out our reach, and we're getting people, we have a big following in like Boston.
Oh, wow.
I could probably open a branch office right now and staff it there. I have no interest in going to Boston, except maybe for the Patriots game. But, yeah.
Awesome. Any others? No? Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.